Hi, I'm Jacob Gallucci, and right now I'd like to talk about The Drive. It's a radio station here in Chicago. It's WDRV FM, 97.1 FM, and it's a classic rock station, and it's been on the air since April 2nd, 2001, so it's been on the air for just over 14 years now. That's crazy. And since it first began, it's changed a lot. It really has. In the early days of The Drive, they played a lot of 60s and 70s songs, but very few 80s songs. It was mostly just 60s and 70s. And a lot of artists that were played then aren't played now on The Drive. Like back then, they played more like Free Dog Night and The Animals, the Zombies, the Grassroots, the Box Tops, America they played a lot, James Taylor, Carole King, Jim Croce, Jackson Browne they played a lot. They played lighter stuff back then, Joni Mitchell too. The station used to play predominantly 60s and 70s songs and very little 80s. And they didn't play too many heavy songs. Like in the early days, they didn't play a lot of Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or Deep Purple. No, they really didn't. It's weird. Just within a few years after that, they started playing more 80s songs, like songs by like Van Halen and U2 and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Later Genesis, later Bruce Springsteen, later Bob Seger, and Def Leppard eventually. You started hearing them on The Drive, Guns N' Roses. And even in the last couple years, they're playing a lot of 90s songs. Yes, 90s songs. That means they're playing like songs by like Nirvana and Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, Smashing Pumpkins. It's crazy. The Black Crowes as well. The Drive's evolved. Now they're playing very few 60s songs, a lot of 70s, a lot of 80s, and some 90s actually. Yeah. I liked The Drive better before. I really did. I've always preferred 60s and 70s classic rock over like 80s and 90s stuff, honestly. And at one time, The Drive actually used to play a lot of non-classic rock songs. They played a lot of soul and R&B and Motown. Yeah. Like, for example, they played a few Marvin Gaye songs occasionally, like I Heard It Through the Grapevine and What's Going On, Mercy, Mercy Me, Inner City Blues, and they played a lot of Stevie Wonder at one time, like My Sharia Moore, Superstition, You Are the Sunshine of My Life, Higher Ground, Living for the City, Golden Lady, You Haven't Done Nothing, Boogie on Reggae Woman, I Wish, Sir Duke. They also played Tears of a Clown a lot by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. They used to play Reflections by the Supremes. What else? They played Papa Was a Rolling Stone and Ball of Confusion by the Temptations. They used to play those songs a lot. I even heard them play Psychedelic Shack sometimes too. They also played Let's Stay Together by Al Green. I heard that many times on The Drive. Yeah, they used to play a lot of soul. Like, believe it or not, they did. And they used to play a lot of like oldies type stuff. They used to play a lot more Beach Boys at one time, and you almost never hear of the Beach Boys on The Drive anymore. It's crazy. They played a lot more deep cuts at one time too. Like instead of playing like the same songs by the same artists, they played more obscure artists like Spirit and 10 Years After, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Free, Mountain. They played more than just the obvious songs by those artists. Thin Lizzy. and like more obscure Beatles songs, more obscure songs by the Rolling Stones, The Who, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, The Doors. And the morning DJ, it's no longer Steve Downes. Steve Downes is also the voice of the Master Chief in the Halo games, and I actually met him one time when I was at Columbia College, Chicago. He came to visit my voiceover one class, and my teacher in that class is friends with him, and he came over, and he's really a nice guy. He was really friendly and cool, and yeah, he retired from the drive last month, back in March, and now weekday mornings from like about 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. it's now Pete McMurray and Dan McNeil. Pete McMurray used to be on the Loop on 97.9 FM here in Chicago, and Dan McNeil used to be a sports guy. He was on ESPN 1000 and 670 The Score, and it's Dan McNeil and Pete McMurray. They're together on the drive now, and it's good, but it's not as good as Steve Downes. Steve Downes I liked more. A lot of the specialty things are still on, like Rock and Roll Roots with Bob Stroud, and the 10 at 10, and 145 at 145, and instead of the Thursday Artist Portrait, it's down to Thursday Spotlight. And they usually spotlight 2 artists now instead of 1. And when they did 1 artist, they used to play like a lot of like deep cuts from the artist and like classic songs and live cuts. It was better at one time. And at 5 o'clock, they used to have the drives live at 5. But now it's the drives lost and found. They play a deep cut at that time, and it's good. I prefer that over to live at 5. And at night, I remember the DJ used to be Christine Moran, and she's actually a teacher at Columbia College, Chicago, and I never had her as a teacher. I had her as a sub one time, and she was challenging. I mean, she's good at what she does, but she's challenging. She was challenging, and Stroud's been there since day one. Phil Manicki, he's been there since day one. Greg Easterling's been there for a long time. He's the overnight guy. Now, during the week, the schedule is from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. It's Pete McMurray and Dan McNeil. From 9 to 2, it's Bob Stroud. From 2 to 7, it's Bobby Skafish. And from 7 to midnight, it's Phil Manicki. And from midnight to 5 a.m., it's Greg Easterling. And they still do album sides occasionally, like album sides Thursday, and they also do like Triple Play Weekend and Triple Play Thursday. That's when they play 3 songs in a row by a certain artist, and the album sides are fun. I love when they do album sides. And they also do like the drives A to Z. They play songs in alphabetical order, and it lasts for like just over a week, like 7 to 8 days it lasts for, and I love when they do that. They do that about twice a year. The drive's not as good as it was, but it's still a very good station. I still think it's the best music station in Chicago, honestly. They play more songs than most of the other like similar stations, like The Loop and 94.7 and 104.3. XRT plays a mix of like older songs and newer songs. The drive mostly just plays older songs, predominantly from the 70s and 80s, but also some 60s and 90s as well. And anyway, I'm sorry for rambling, but I'll be back next week with 3 new videos. And anyway, until then, take care.